Hello there, I am Science Explained, and in this episode we're going to talk about cancer cells and the different forms of treatment. First off, what is a cancer cell and why does it kill us? Well, the answer to the first question would have to be that a cancer cell is just a cell that no longer has control of its reproduction, or essentially it just won't stop dividing. Though how a cell becomes cancerous is through mutation, and a mutation can occur from thousands of different ways throughout our entire lives. Let's start with natural mutation, which happens when your cells make a mistake during DNA replication, which is when your cells start to make two copies of its DNA for the two new cells it will create during mitosis. This process occurs when a strand of DNA is split apart and unwound using its polymerase, helicase, polymerase, ligase to help to make two identical double helix strands. Well, along the way during DNA replication, the DNA can be, more to say, put together wrong and result in a major or minor mutation. Of course, most DNA mutations that occur from these minor slip-ups during DNA replication cause no immediate damage and usually doesn't strike as an issue until most people grow of old age and their cells have accumulated a massive amount of mutations, causing them to be cancerous. This is not saying that elderly only get cancer, it's just very common. A young person can also have massive amounts of mutations depending on their lifestyle or their family history. Another way we can get mutations, and a lot quicker, is through radiation. You know, the stuff that makes the Hulk. Well, the Hulk. Except for radiation doesn't really work that way. The only type of radiation that can actually harm people is ionizing radiation, which is high energized radiation compared to the average day-to-day radio waves or microwaves. Well, when ionizing radiation hits an atom, it absorbs it, causing the weakest electron to be expelled from the atom and an electron to be fallen down to the next energy ring. And this turns the atom positively charged, and this is called an ion. This hence the name ionizing radiation. If there's not enough ions in our body, it can cause tissue damage and the destruction of or alteration of DNA and a double helix. So the real problem is that can lead to cancer is when the cell attempts to fix its damaged DNA and can't successfully do it, leaving a mutated and damaged DNA strand, which gets worse and worse as the cell divides more and more. Radiation is a much faster and more deadly process than natural mutation and works faster than it. But depending on how much radiation a person was exposed to, can determine whether or not they get cancer in a few years or just months. Now here's the interesting part. How does cancer kill me? Well, all around your body, proteins and nutrients are carried around by your blood and supplied to your cells so they can grow and multiply. Simple enough, right? Well, when cells become cancerous, they tend to grow and divide at a much faster rate than normal cells, causing a vast abundance of them if left untreated. Though cancer cells are still cells, and they still require nutrients to grow and multiply. So they can grow together in clumps, it's called tumors, or travel through the bloodstream to get proper nutrients, and this is probably usually called leukemia. This, however, poses many issues because cancer cells tend to take a vast majority of nutrients from themselves, starving the healthiest cells. This is why cancer patients tend to be very weak, nauseous, and don't move around at all because their healthy cells can't function quite right and are dying off due to malnutrition. This is why cancer kills. How do we cure cancer? There is no definitive cure for cancer that is known to the public, but there are treatments. The first on our list is radiation therapy. And I know you're thinking, but you said radiation causes cancer. And this is true. Radiation damages DNA in cells and turns them cancerous or just kills the cell plainly. And this is what doctors do to destroy cancer cells across the body. They use either X-rays or gamma rays or the most energized forms of ionizing radiation from external sources such as machines to send X-rays and gamma rays to shrink and kill cancer cells. Though you might be thinking, don't ionized rays also kill normal cells? And the answer is yes. Though doctors take this into account to make sure that the rays only attack a tumor, a collection of cancer cells. Though there is another form of cancer treatment, and it is the most well known, and that is called chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is used to attack cancer cells that go all across the body from the initial site and even in the bloodstream, but it also can be used to attack tumors. Though there are different kinds of chemotherapy, like alkylating agents, which go in a cell and damage or destroy the DNA in the cells, which means it also does this to the healthy cells and not just the cancer. And this also can lead to damaging of the bone marrow cells or the cells that produce red blood cells in the body. This is why chemotherapy is kind of on the whole wavy because it also makes people very, very sick and weak too. Though there are more types of chemotherapy, but I think it would take another video in order to go full detail. So there will be a link in the description full of my sources, and that will lead you to different types of chemo. Though there is one precaution doctors have to make when a patient is under chemotherapy or radiation therapy, and it is that they might damage the stem cells in their bone marrow, or the stuff that produces their red blood cells. So they do something called a stem cell transplant, which means they give you stem cells for your bone marrow after cancer is treated for, so the body can produce a healthy amount of blood cells to survive. They usually take those cells from some person who's before they get treated and give them back, but a person can also get a donation from a matching donor. This is usually occurring, but it's a very painful process, so some patients aren't very willing. Though one last type of cancer treatment would be immunotherapy, which is the strengthening of a person's immune system to fight off the cancer cells, or make some of the immune system fight only the cancer cells. We'll be looking to monoclonal antibodies, which are man-made antibodies that attach to the cancer cell's antigens and allow for white blood cells to recognize that cancer cell is a threat if not already. Because this is a kind of a problem with white blood cells, with cancer cells, is that sometimes they do not fully recognize that they are a threat to the body and they are just still a regular cell, and sometimes won't even attack them. So with these monoclonal antibodies, they allow white blood cells to fully recognize that they are a threat to the body and destroy them. I hope this video is very useful for you in the future regards and questions you have about cancer or treatment of cancer. If you have any more questions in detail, I advise you look at the links down in the description. This is Science Explained, and I'm signing off.